Dear students, I welcome you all to our revision lecture series, and this is probably the second last lecture of the series. And in this lecture, I'm going to talk about or explain chapter number 15 named Star Trek: The Voyage Home. It's a poem written by D.G. Zelensky. Okay. Now, I'd like to present some very important data points before you before starting the poem. I hope you'll be able to understand the poem in a better manner if you understand and remember these data points that I have written over here. The first thing that you should remember is the poem is inspired by a film, and the name of the film is Star Trek 4th, The Voyage Home, and the film was released in the year 1986. Okay. Now in this film, it is a futuristic film that depicts the time travel and space travel of a human being called Captain Kirk to different worlds, different stars, different galaxies. Okay, and obviously we would learn some more important details about the voyage of Captain Kirk and company. But before that, let me talk about the poem a little bit. Now this poem is a lyric poetry. Now question comes, what is lyric poetry? Now when you listen to a song, you often call the wordings of that song lyrics, right? Lyrics of a song is the written words, written sentences, okay, of a song. Just like that, a lyric poetry is a poetry that have a particular rhyming scheme, right? It has a rhyme. It has a particular rhyme just like a song. एक song की तरह इसका एक rhythm होता है, इसीलिए इसको lyric poetry कहा जाता है. So where is the rhythm, sir? हमको समझ में नहीं आया, समझाइए थोड़ा सा. देखो, if you go through the poem, you can see that the last words of each line has a rhythm in it. For example, if you consider the second stanza, and let us take the last words of each line. What are those words? The words are brave, before, water, and deplore. So you can see that there is a rhythm between line number 2 and line number 4. Before and deplore, they have the same sound, same ending sound, right? So in this manner, if you go through the entire poem and analyze the rhyme scheme, you can find a particular rhythm that is getting repeated throughout the poem. If you consider the first stanza, you can see that home and alone, they too rhyme in the same manner. I have just shown before you with the example of before and deplore in the second stanza. So basically a lyric poetry is a poetry where you can find a rhythm just like you find in a song. जैसे कि आप एक song में एक rhythm देखते हो, lyric poetry में भी आपको क्या मिलेगा? एक rhythm मिलेगा, ठीक है? और इस poem में भी मैंने आपको दिखा दिया कि rhythm कैसे ढूंढना है. Just consider the last words of each line and you will find a pattern. ठीक है, इसको हम बोलते हैं इंग्लिश में राइम स्कीम. ओके, राइम स्कीम. सो इन मोस्ट ऑफ द पोएम यू कैन सी द राइम स्कीम एक्सेप्ट फ्री वर्स. जो पोएम फ्री वर्स में लिखा हुआ होता है वहाँ पर कोई राइम स्कीम नहीं रहता. अदर दैन दैट, इन ऑल द पोएम्स यू विल सी सम और द अदर काइंड ऑफ राइम स्कीम that is being continued throughout the poem. Now let us talk about the main characters that we can find in this poem. Okay, now the first character that you should know and remember about is Captain Kirk. He is the main character or protagonist, you can say, of this poem. Now what is his full name? His full name is Captain James T. Kirk, and he is the captain of the spaceship named USS Enterprise. So USS Enterprise is the name of a spaceship, just like some days back Chandrayaan 3 was launched by Indian Space Research Organization. So Chandrayaan 3 is obviously the name of a spacecraft. Just like that, here Captain Kirk's spacecraft's name is USS Enterprise. Now the second character that we find over here is Spock. Now who is Spock? Now Spock is an alien and he lives in another planet, obviously a fictional planet named Falcon. Okay, so he is a Falcon and an alien. But what is the most shocking characteristic of Spock, the alien, is it doesn't have mind. For example, when we consider about a situation, when we take any decision, we consider both the things. We take into consideration both brain and mind. But in case of Spock, it thinks logically with brain only, doesn't have the faculty of mind. ठीक है, वो मन से कोई भी चीज़ को नहीं सोच सकता, ठीक है। जो भी डिसीजन स्पोक लेते हैं दैट इज़ ओनली बेस्ड ऑन लॉजिक, दैट इज़ ओनली बेस्ड ऑन ब्रेन, एंड इन दिस मैनर इट्स डिफरेंट फ्रॉम अ ह्यूमन बीइंग। जब भी आप एक ह्यूमन बीइंग के पास जाओगे देखोगे कि उसका एक इमोशनल साइड होता है, सिर्फ लॉजिकल साइड नहीं होता है, एंड विद द कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ बोथ द थिंग्स, द लॉजिकल ब्रेन एंड इमोशनल ब्रेन, इमोशनल माइंड, दे टेक एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ डिसीजन। बट इन केस ऑफ स्पोक एंड एलियन, इट टेक्स डिसीजन, इट कन्वेज इट्स थॉट्स बेस्ड ऑन ओनली वन थिंग, एंड व्हाट इज दैट वन थिंग, वो एक चीज़ क्या है, दैट इज ब्रेन। माइंड का कोई जगह नहीं है। एंड स्पोक इज presenting before us a very thoughtful analysis about the causes behind the end of life on earth। जो क्यों पूरा अर्थ से धीरे 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 सभी लिविंग क्रिएचर विलुप्त हो जाएगा, इसके बारे में उन्होंने एक बहुत थॉटफुल एनालिसिस हमारे सामने इस पोएम में प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं, वही हमको थोड़ी देर में पता चलेगा। सो लेट अस मूव टू द नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। सो दिस टाइमलाइन शुड बी अंडरस्टूड। ओके, इफ यू डू नॉट अंडरस्टैंड दिस टाइमलाइन देन इट विल बी प्रॉब्लमेटिक फॉर यू टू अंडरस्टैंड द पोएम। सो हियर the setting of the poem is 23rd century. We are living in 21st century, but this poem has a futuristic setting and is set in 23rd century, where Captain Kirk and his associates live. But in 23rd century Earth and 20th century or 21st century Earth is quite different. Why? Because if you consider 23rd century's Earth, you will see that it's much more mechanized. For example, just 10 years back there was no AI. And when I was a student, mostly we have to depend upon books to read things, right? Now when I am teaching you, I am making use of these sorts of digital devices. Now there's Teams. 10 years back, 20 years back, when I was a student, my father, mother were a student, then there were not the availability of these digital devices. Nowadays, I have already recommended some of you to use AI, artificial intelligence, but just a couple of years back there were no provision of artificial intelligence. So you can see that the world is slowly becoming mechanical. Now in 5 years down the line, you will see that the importance of teachers are slowly ebbing away. ठीक है, आप धीरे धीरे महसूस करेंगे कि 5 साल बाद देखेंगे कि टीचर का जो ज़रूरत धीरे धीरे कम हो रहे हैं और धीरे धीरे फेड हो रहे हैं, क्योंकि आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस विल टेक सम ऑफ आवर प्लेसेस. If a teacher cannot motivate its students, obviously artificial intelligence has limitation, right? And a teacher has also a limitation. So you have to understand that if you eliminate the humanitarian perspective, if a teacher cannot motivate its student to pursue education, then there is no purpose of a teacher who is a means of imparting factual knowledge. Because if you ask any question to any AI platform, it can give you much more accurate answer than a human teacher. So these things should be considered, that in the 23rd century's world would be much more mechanized, and obviously if you consider the condition of our nature, you can see that it is deteriorating. The condition of nature and natural resources are deteriorating each day. The temperature, the average temperature of earth is increasing day by day, and pollution is increasing leaps and bounds. If you consider the situation of Delhi, ज़्यादा दूर नहीं जाना पड़ेगा. If you just consider the condition of Delhi, they have to purchase air purifier, just like we do purchase water purifier to purify water. They are not being able to get fresh air even. They have to pay for it. Why? In the means of buying air purifier, you have to purify the air, and then only we can take some fresh air. So consider, just look at this dire need of environmental education and protection, conservation of nature. Okay, let me not complicate the things. Coming back to the poem, if you consider the situation of 23rd century, it would be a very mechanical, polluted earth where Captain Kirk and his associates are living, and they are time traveling to 20th century, that is 1986 earth, that is much better, more balanced and less polluted in comparison to the 23rd century's earth. Okay, now let me read and explain the first stanza of the poem. So let me read it first. Star Trek: The Voyage Home, written by D.G. Jelnitsky. Captain Kirk's trek amid the oceans of stars was less memorable than the voyage home, to the planet where mortals were born, who realized that we are not alone. So here you can see that Captain Kirk's mission is to go to the unknown lands, explore the unknown, and following the mission of his team, he has visited different sorts of planets, different sorts of stars using his spacecraft USS Enterprise. But we remember him for time traveling to 1986 अर्थ. कैप्टन किर्क और उसका टीम का एक ही मकसद था कि जो भी चीज़ हमारे पास अननोन है उसको हमें जानना है. इसीलिए उन्होंने बहुत सारे स्टार्स और प्लैनेट में घूम चुके हैं. पर वैलिड काइंड्स ऑफ स्टार्स और प्लैनेट में घूमने के लिए उसको हम याद नहीं कर रहे हैं आज. उसको हम याद इसीलिए रख रहे हैं, इसीलिए कर रहे हैं क्योंकि उन्होंने 1986 का धरती में टाइम ट्रैवल किए थे. और टाइम ट्रैवल करके किया क्या, इसलिए हमने उसको आज याद कर रहे हैं. What was his mission? Let us see. So his mission was to educate the then inhabitants of Earth about the dire need of the conservation of nature and natural resources. What does it mean? If you go back to 1986 Earth, then you will see that the level of pollution was much low. The balance of nature and natural resources were much perfect. Now, going back to 1986 Earth, Captain Kirk is trying to educate people that if you do not take care of Earth, then your next generation would definitely suffer. And by imparting this education among the laymen of 1986's Earth, he had made a considerable difference in the condition of life that inhabitants of Earth in the next generation would be in. Okay. And that is why Captain Kirk's mission to home, his voyage home, is much more remembered. So in the first stanza, you can find a description or a comparative analysis between the venture of Captain Kirk to different stars, different planets, and his time travel to 1986's Earth, where he is remembered for his voyage home, that is, his travel to Earth. Now, this planet is different from other planets. How? Because here mortals means here human beings are born. Here comes a humanitarian perspective. If you consider any creature, for example, if you consider a lion, you will see that it is guided by its instinct. It does not have the capacity to make use of his mind and brain to take a decision. It is only human being who has the capacity to blend both mind and brain in order to take a decision. Right? And that is why human beings are so different, so unique from other creatures. If you consider any machine, even if you consider artificial intelligence, you can see that yes, it is full of information. It can give you better information than a human teacher can impart. But it cannot understand you. It cannot boost your motivation. It cannot understand your mental landscape. It cannot cater to the individual differences among the students. Okay, when you feel the dire need of a motivator, of some inspiration, a human teacher can impart that to you, can give it to you, but not the artificial intelligence. It doesn't have a mind. It might have a brain, but it obviously doesn't have a mind. But human beings are unique because they have both the faculties, the brain and the mind, and they can make a perfect balance between these two faculties to take a decision. And most importantly, they can think from others' perspective as well. Human beings can think from others' perspective as well. For example, if I were at the position of you, how would I have felt? I can imagine. And based on my imagination, I can take action. For example, I can reduce the load of studies. I can make you revise the things by video lecture. I thought that if I can record video lecture, I think it would be much more engaging. You can see the important points in front of your eyes while listening to my lecture. So I thought in this manner, and this thought of mine resulted into my action. राइट तो देखो हम क्या कर रहे हैं, आपके पर्सपेक्टिव से सोच पा रहे हैं. वाई? बिकॉज आई एम अ ह्यूमन टीचर. ये नहीं होगा किसी और एनिमल के लिए, ये नहीं होगा कोई मशीन के लिए, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के लिए, ये नहीं होगा. सो दिस इज वाई ह्यूमन बींग्स आर सो यूनिक, सो इम्पॉर्टेंट. ओके, देयरफॉर व्हाट शुड वी डू? भगवान हमको ये 2 फैकल्टी जब दिए हैं, व्हाट शुड बी आवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज? आवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी शुड बी टू अंडरस्टैंड the need of the situation and secure the lives and the living places of all the flora and fauna species. So if you are a human, your responsibility should be to understand others' perspective, you should respect them, and you should strive to secure other species of plants and animals, because you are made for that, for coexistence. You are not meant, you are not devised to live alone. You are devised to live in a community, and you should never forget that. Now let us move towards the second stanza and the explanation of the second stanza. But before that, let me read it. The credo of the wise and brave is to boldly go where no man has gone before, back to a natural environment of earth and water, confessing sins that we deplore. So I have written down some meanings over here. What does credo means? Credo means the thought process, the point of view that guides the mission. For example, here, what is my credo? What is my thought process? I've already told before you that I thought that it would be better for you all to understand or revise the things if I record video lecture instead of audio lectures, and that thought process led me to record this thing, to take this action. So here, this is my credo. Now, what is Captain Kirk's credo? Captain Kirk and his associates' credo or thought process behind making these missions were to explore the unexplored world. जो अभी तक जाना नहीं गया है, वो वर्ल्ड पे जाना और उसके बारे में जान के आना, यही था द मिशन एंड विजन ऑफ कैप्टन किर्क एंड कंपनी. ओके, एंड दे आर बोल्ड इनफ टू गो वेयर नो मैन हैज एवर गॉन बिफोर. ओके, जहां पर कभी भी ह्यूमन बीइंग अभी तक नहीं जा पाए थे, कैप्टन किर्क और उसके एसोसिएट्स वहां पर ही जा रहे हैं, जानने के लिए वो चीज जो अभी तक कोई ने भी नहीं जान पाए. राइट, एंड दे आर गोइंग बैक टू अ नेचुरल एनवायरनमेंट ऑफ अर्थ एंड वाटर. बट व्हाट इज द प्रोसेस ऑफ गोइंग बैक to the natural environment? It is confess. You have to confess the sins that you have realized later on. So when you are going back to a better and safer world of 20th century, you should admit the sins that human beings has already made, and you should take initiative to minimize the effects and mend the lost balance of nature. So how can you get back to a better and safer earth? You have to understand and apologize for the mistakes that you have made. Now, sir, what are the mistakes we have made? What are the sins that we committed? The sins are, we have cut down trees for development reason. Okay, we have devastated the natural ecosystem for our material greed. We have polluted air, we have polluted water, soil, each and everything mindlessly. We have destroyed natural habitat of thousands of plant and animal species, and in this manner we have killed them. For example, there was an old tree, old banyan tree, and in that banyan tree there lived ants, there lived a number of birds, there lived worms. Now when you are cutting that tree, then you are destroying the natural living place of those ants, of those birds, of those worms, and in this manner you are also killing them. Right? If you snatch the natural habitat, the natural ecosystem from a particular species of animal or plant, you are simply killing it. Yes, it is a slow poison. एक दिन में मर नहीं जाएगा, पर धीरे 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 वो extinct हो जाएगा. ठीक है? So these are the scenes that the poet is talking about in this poem, and by confessing, by apologizing for these scenes, we can get back the fresh air, we can get back the fresh water, we can get back lost natural balance. You know, I am a Bengali, and you obviously know about Rabindranath Tagore. Now in Bengali, he wrote 2 lines. Let me recite that line, those lines, and then I would obviously translate them in English. He is writing, যাহারা তোমার বিষাইছে বায়ু নিভাইছে তব আলো তুমি কি তাদের ক্ষমা করিয়াছ তুমি কি বেসেছো ভালো. So here the poet Rabindranath Tagore is trying to say that nature never loves those persons who has created havoc and devastated the natural balance. And nature takes revenge in the form of earthquake, in the form of natural calamities like coronavirus. Humanitarian calamities like coronavirus, natural calamities like earthquake, it can be tsunami. So these are the means of revenge that nature takes. Nature is very good, very helpful for those who loves it, who cares for it, but it is devastating for those who destabilizes its natural balance. जो अच्छा करता है, जो सोचता है, जो केयर करता है, उसके लिए नेचर बहुत प्यारा है. पर जो सोचता नहीं, जो नेचुरल बैलेंस को खत्म करने के लिए काम करता है, उसके लिए नेचर इज रियली डिवास्टेटिंग. So this is the message of the second stanza. Now let us move to the third stanza. Here we get the introduction of a character that is Spock. Now Spock believes it is highly illogical to assume that an alien invasion will end all life, but the extinction of plants, animals and mammals will create perfect pandemonium and strife. So now Spock is a very realistic creature who thinks logically. Now he is presenting his theory about the extinction of life from Earth. The first point that he's trying to say before us, that human beings and all the creatures would get devastated because of an attack or invasion of alien. And the second point that he is highlighting upon is extinction of plants, animals and mammals from Earth. And he considers that the second point is much more grave, because the extinction of plants, animals and mammals would create complete disturbance on Earth. It would create a warlike situation, and through the means of that internal war, slowly all the species, all the living species will die, disappear from Mother Earth. कैसे sir? Let me give you an example. Just think about the coronavirus situation. So everyone need rice, everyone need atta, everyone need mask, everyone need medicine, everyone need vaccines. But you see that the need is much, the production is less. So everyone will not be able to get the basic minimum, the basics to lead one's life. Now for example, you are hungry for about 10 days. You are not getting enough food. What will you do? You will take immoral means. For example, you will loot someone's godown. And that man who is the owner of the godown would obviously take some steps to stop you. So you will go to loot the godown. The owner of the godown will try to stop you. In this manner, it would create a war between these two parties. I have given you a very simple example in a micro level. Now consider the same thing on the perspective of the national international policies. In one country, some things are cultivated and that thing is exported in other countries. Now because of the dire need of that particular grain, that country is not being able to export the grain to those countries that are earlier dependent upon the earlier country. Now those countries who are dependent, they will not get the requested grain from the main country. And if this situation continues, one day they will lose all patience and wage a war against the country that used to supply these grains. So you see that if you kind of destabilize the natural balance, it can create a perfect pandemonium or war-like situation. And if this war-like situation continues, then surely with passing time, the extinction of life from earth will take place. Now let us move to the final stanza that talks about the moral of this poem. So here we see that the blue whales are singing a song that is named Saltwater Song. And what is the message conveyed through this song? The message is, in order to preserve the natural balance on earth, we should learn to coexist and belong. Here I have quoted a Sanskrit phrase, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that means the world is a family. We should imbibe this thought that the entire world is my family. The ants, the birds, the rhinos that are living in the jungle are not different from us. They are part and parcel of our family. We should care for them. We should live and let live. So coexistence with other plant and animal species and imbibing the attitude that the world is my extended family can mitigate the issue, mitigate the problem. And this is the moral that in this world of division, we should imbibe the path of union. We should imbibe the path of coexistence with all the different sorts of plants, animals, and human characters. Right. So with this message, I'd like to stop this recording, and I thank you all for listening to this boring lecture. Thank you.